Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Can you see me? I am in the chat. I'm so excited to see Debbie and Katie and Danny and Jennifer and Jessica. I'm looking over here because my work computer is over here. Can you believe it? It's already session 3. I'm like so shocked that this is going by so fast. Yes, you can hear me. Okay. Hi, Joanne. Your first time attending live. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. I really appreciate it. If you are kind of like, well, who is this lady? I'll just tell you a little bit about me, and you tell us a little bit about you in the comments. So, what grades do you teach? Where are you right now? What I think is amazing about this is that we're in so many different places, and also tell me what your teacher superpower is. I would love to find out. I mean, I feel like we're all superheroes because we're teachers, and that is crazy. And like, are you on summer break? What's crazier is that you are here right now watching this on your summer break. And like, what the heck am I doing right now? It's beautiful today, and I do plan on going outside, taking a bike ride. That's what I've been doing after each session, just going on a bike ride. It's beautiful. I'm in the Bay Area. Okay, so high school reading, 9th through 12th grade. You teach all of those grades, Stacy. I am amazed by you because I don't know, like I couldn't imagine teaching like multiple grades and preps, and I only have 2 preps. So I teach English 4 periods, and then drama, 7th and 8th grade drama, another period. So I teach 5 periods, and I am in the Bay Area. So Danny is in Las Vegas. It's probably super hot there right now, I'm guessing. Wisconsin, I have no idea what the weather is like in Wisconsin. Texas, I used to live in Texas actually when I was young, and there was this huge flood, and like we went and swam in the streets. Now I think that's like really gross. Like, what? We swam like out our front yard. It was weird. So I know the flooding there is kind of crazy. Um, okay, superpower, hearing. So just like hearing your students, and that's probably my biggest weakness is shutting my mouth and listening to my students. It's actually something I'm really working on. Um, okay, so more superpowers. I would love to know your superpowers. So I feel like my superpower is engaging my students and motivating them. I really like, for years and years and years and years, have been honing this, like, because, and I think the reason it's a superpower is because, so what's Superman? What is that thing that kryptonite? So my kryptonite is seeing kids not on task. Like that, like for the longest time, it really bugged me when 100% of my students were not 100% on task. And like, as I've taught longer and longer and longer, I realized like that is a really unrealistic expectation. And I am like driving myself nuts expecting that. And so I've kind of like lowered the bar a little bit and like tried not to let it like bother me so much when kids were being kids. You South Texas. Yes, Kingsville. We lived in Kingsville. I was like in 5th grade. My parents were both in the Navy. And so that's why we've lived in Guam, Japan, and I'm from Washington State. So a little bit interesting information about me. Human lie detector. That's a really good one. I feel like, isn't it in the eyes? Like when someone like looks down or up, or maybe that's a sign. I don't know. I can't tell when people are lying. Like, I'm so gullible. I'm really, really gullible. Okay, so I hope that you all are able to see me and hear me. I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I'm so excited for you to be watching the replay if you're a replay viewer. And I am going to share my screen, and we're going to get started on all of this motivating and engaging students real world publishing opportunities for my students, TEDx event at our school. Yeah, we do TED Talks, but we don't like actually make it a formal event. We just like do TED Talks as a research speech unit. So those are really fun. That's actually my favorite unit because I just learned so much from my students. I love learning from my students. Okay, really, really engaging. Publishing podcasts, awesome. That is so awesome. I feel like, yeah, podcasting is definitely something I've just recently gotten into. I have a podcast, so that's fun and definitely a way to motivate and engage students, like podcasting for sure. And is that related to reading and writing? Yes, they have to write their script and they have to publish it, right? And like read, that's what I do. I read my blog post for my podcast. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and let's see my entire screen. There's going to be some weird like matrix stuff happening. And okay, let's see. Motivating students. So I'm going to talk a lot about like, this is broken down into parts. So I want to talk about how to get your students to not only care more about reading and writing, but also how to get them to read and write more. So let's go ahead and get started here. So here are the objectives. I want to first define what motivation really means. And by the way, at the end of this, I'm going to show some of the like questions I found in the form you all filled out, and feel free to comment, ask questions. I'll be paying attention to the comments as we go. So distinguish between motivation and engagement. Learn some truth that we all know about motivating secondary students. Access a huge number of ways that really work to motivate students. Access a huge list of reasons you can give students about why reading and writing are so crucial in this day and age, because one of the ways to motivate students is to explain why you're doing what you're doing in your classroom, like always explaining the why, like why are we doing this? Discuss how to actually get students to read and write more. And then access, it's not 6 resources. I've actually added more, covering the topic of student motivation. And then just start making a plan for increased engagement and motivation for next school year. Okay, does that sound good? That's a lot to accomplish in an hour, but we're gonna do it. I'm really excited. Remember, this is my superpower. So of all the sessions, this is the one. This is the one that I can really help with. So first of all, what is motivation? So I went and looked it up. I know, silly. I love dictionary.com. Motivation is having a strong reason to act or accomplish something. So I believe there is really only one reason that a person would choose to read or write, and it's pleasure, right? Pleasure. We are pleasure seekers. We are humans. We want to feel good, right? Okay. So let's change our question from how can I motivate my students to how can I make reading and writing more pleasurable for my students, right? Like, how can I make this class fun and exciting and pleasurable? Okay. And then I also want to talk about engaging. So engage means to occupy the attention or efforts of a person or persons. So I feel like the motivation is kind of like coming from the students and the engagement is coming from you. So it is our job to occupy as much attention from our students as possible by figuring out how to make reading and writing a pleasurable experience. All right, so we've defined what engage and motivate mean, but first, let's talk about this hard truth that I was kind of getting at earlier. So a hard truth. The hard truth is, are you ready? You will most likely never be able to motivate everyone. So the reason is because everyone is motivated by different things, And kids are going through so much. They are growing mentally and physically, and who knows what their life is like at home. The second hard truth is that secondary students are usually most motivated by two things. And I'm like really curious in the comments, what do you think those two things are? I bet you know. You know what they're motivated by. What are they motivated by? Secondary teachers, we all know the two answers. This is a quiz. Come on, everyone in the comments. What do you think? What do you think? What are secondary students most motivated by? Ooh, okay. Oh man, I did not think of food. Yeah, food is a good one. I did not include that. Stickers. Yes, technology. That's one of them. And then the second one you wrote peers. So I said screens and friends. Like that's what they're most motivated by, right? Phones, friends, food. Food's another one for sure. Social media. Uh yeah, losing their phone is just like devastating. So now that we all know what they're most motivated by, let's keep going. Okay, let's keep going. And a lot of the ways that I'm going to go over to motivate students involve you, but they also involve screens and they involve friends. So, and I would love if there are other ways that you motivate students and like try and get them to like feel that reading and writing is more pleasurable. Tell me in the comments. So, okay, these are the ways that I came up with. I have 3 slides that I'm going to go over. And this first slide is like super obvious. And I emailed the handout to everyone yesterday, the notes handout. I don't know if anyone's using those, but they help me to like plan our sessions together. But the quote, the quote in that handout is, who is it by? I can't even remember who it was by. But it was like, successful people do common things uncommonly well. Okay. So I love that quote because we complicate things. And you know what? Making your classroom more pleasurable and making reading and writing more pleasurable is pretty simple. Okay. So here, watch this. This slide, you're going to be like, what? Okay. Smile. That is a common thing, right? But the more you smile, the more that your kids will feel pleasure in your classroom, right? Use humor. And I know not all of us have these like funny personalities and stuff and like playful personalities, but you know, you can always just give it a try. Like put a comic strip up on your board or something, or memes. Kids love memes. Tell stories from your life. Like there's like my go-to stories. I tell so many different stories and kids are just like, I swear when I'm telling a story, it's when I have 100% of their attention. It's just like, it's so funny when I start telling a story. They're just like, huh? Miss Werner's telling a story? And like, I have kids begging me to tell them stories just from my life. And just funny things have happened to me, weird things, like things that happened to me over the weekend, like just telling stories, letting them tell stories. I'm only humorous unintentionally. Yeah, for sure. I make myself just laugh and everyone else, all the 8th graders are just staring at me with their mouths open. And I'm like, no one thinks this is funny. And it's always so awesome when you see a kid like across the room and you're like, that person thinks I'm funny. I can see it. I can see it in their eyes. Okay. Sit with students. Like, go like be among them. I never sit in my desk like ever. If I ever sit, it's like I'm sitting at a desk with them or like with a chair with them and I'm just interacting with them. The closer you are to them, the more they are going to be like, I better like be doing my work, right? They're motivated. Beg for stories too. It feels like a distraction. I have to allow for some of that for the community building, but shut it down when it endangers learning. Yes. The pacing is so key because you can't just spend like 10 minutes telling stories, right? But I do, you know, like, so timers and just designating like specific days or moments when you can tell stories. Like Monday is usually my storytelling day because it's like we're reconnecting, right? We spent 2 days away from each other. Maybe if it was a 3-day weekend, 3 days away from each other. So Mondays are like, tell about your weekend, tell the good, the bad, the ugly. And I tell a quick little story. So Mondays are my day. Okay. But I do tell stories also when it relates to my mini lessons. So if I'm teaching a skill and there's a story that can connect to my mini lesson, I do it. Okay, ask questions and listen. So if your superpower is listening, you should be doing this a lot, like asking students questions like, hey, what are you working on right now? Or how do you feel about reading? How do you feel about writing? And like actually listening to what they have to say about it. And like, hey, when do you make time for reading? And do you all have a journal? And just asking those like really key questions about your students' lives as readers and writers. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Provide choice as often as you can. That's why I love choice boards. So when I send students off to work, I give them lots of choices of what they could be working on. Allow talking when possible. So when students are brainstorming, I allow students to talk because I feel like if they're talking and trying to get ideas from each other, and a lot of times we assume that they're getting off task, and maybe they are a little bit, but like, as long as they accomplish a certain amount of writing by the end of work time, and like hold their feet to the fire, you need to have a page of ideas. If you're talking, like, you decide, and you can talk to each other or talk to your students and teach a mini lesson about like what's off task talking sound like and what does on task talking sound like when they're brainstorming, when they're revising, when they're editing. Those are times when they should be able to talk. When they're drafting, not so much. Okay. And when they're reading, there should not really be talking, right? Unless they're reading with like a buddy or something. Let students work with friends with conditions, of course. And I feel like they are so motivated when you let them work with friends and it's like, hey, if you guys can't be on task together, I'm not letting you work together. Like you have to prove that you can do it. And so they're like, okay, Ms. Werner, yeah, we're totally gonna get to work. And it's like, and you have to have a system in place. Like one warning, and if you can't get your act together, then I'm separating you, and then actually separate them, right? Okay, here's some more ways to motivate. Talk about pop culture. I talk about Fortnite all the time with my students, but I know nothing about Fortnite. And I have all these memes all over my classroom, and I ask them to school me on what's cool and new, right? So like talking about pop culture is so powerful. Use video, use YouTube. I love using YouTube videos. And if you're not on my YouTube channel, you should be, because I post so many videos for kids. TED Ed. Oh, I love the TED Ed videos. I actually have a blog post about like my 10 favorite YouTube channels for writing teachers. If you just Google that, you'll find it. Okay, use tech. So using iPads, using computers, letting them use their phone, but like having designated times where, you know what, we're having a tech-free day today. We're not using tech today. We're using notebooks and books, old school, but also having other days when they can use tech. Giving students free time. So saying like, hey, if you all can work your heinies off 4 days this week, I will let you have 15 minutes of free time on Friday. And we do like Fort Fridays. They can build forts and like read under them, or they can bring food and eat, because usually I don't let them bring food. Be honest about how hard things are. Be real with your students. Like say, yes, I know I am asking you to do something very boring. And many of you think this is boring, annotating this article. You don't like it. But guess what? Life is hard. So, we all have to do hard things in our life, and we're not just going to do fun and games in this class. And that's exactly how I talk to my students. So get used to it, get over it, do the hard work, because it's what humans have to do. Teach about the science of habit. I love reading self-help books, and like I talk about habits and like how to develop positive habits and how we can all change our habits. But it just and my favorite book is Atomic Habits by James Clear. You all should read that book. It is such a good book. And I recommend it to my students too, because habit formation just takes like tiny little moves, just tiny little moves. Like if you don't like reading, you know what? Like just try reading 2 minutes a day, just 2 minutes, just one page a day, and like have like a trigger each day. Like what's going to trigger you reading one page? Okay. So I teach the science of habit all the time. Listen to podcasts. They don't get, I mean, listening is in standards. And I feel like podcasts, I don't know how many teachers are actually doing this, listening to podcasts with their students, but it's just a different form of learning, right? Playing games with students. I love playing games with students, and just especially like as a incentive for working hard. Like, hey, if you work really, really hard, we can play Mafia like Friday or something, things like that. Okay, even more ways to motivate students. Have high expectations of students. Like, I want 5 pages by tomorrow, and students are like, what? Really? Like, or I want you to read this book by next Friday, and they're just freaking out. And some of them are very motivated by like having such a huge, like, you really believe we could do that, Miss Werner? Yes, I believe you can do it. But if they don't meet the expectation, don't criticize them. Don't, just say, you know what? You're not there yet, but you're getting there. And that's awesome. So just, celebrating the wins with them too. Let students do things they're passionate about in your class. Like passion projects. Let them pick the topics they're writing about. Let them pick the books they're reading. Let students speak openly about their hobbies. What do they do outside of your classroom? Pay attention to when students seem bored or antsy, and have backup plans. Like, and this is why I love workshop, because the teacher's really only teaching for 10 minutes. And then the other part of the class time is you having conversations with your students. Okay, let's see. No comments yet. Okay. Talk about things you are passionate about as well. So like I talk about my YouTube channel, I talk about my blog, talk about the books you're reading, talk about your own journal at home or your own journey trying to be more of a reader and a writer. Okay, incorporate your own interests into lessons. If you're really into hiking, writing in front of students is so powerful. So like writing about, your favorite hike, or, talking about things you're curious about and writing information articles about those things in front of students, talking about your own interest. Let students teach. And I was talking about this earlier, like they know a lot. They come to our classroom with a lot of knowledge about pop culture, about like, like apps on their phone and technology. And to let students teach what they know in your class. Read high interest books out loud. Yes, high school teachers should be reading out loud to their students, reading, the first page of books to get students really hooked on the book. Oh my gosh, I read a few pages of 57 Bus, and I told them all about it. And I had like 10 kids who don't even like reading that book. Like I went and checked out a whole bunch of copies of it at the library and just had them available during reading time. And they were like super into it. Okay. Oops. Next. All right. Now, so that's many ways that I motivate my students. Fairy tale, the original. Oh yeah, for sure. As a high school teacher, they're going to be like, what? My teacher's reading me Cinderella right now. This is so crazy. And you can teach all sorts of writing skills with Cinderella. Okay. Thanks, Dima. I didn't know you were here until you just commented. So here are reasons you can give students for why we write in this classroom. And then I'm going to give you reasons for why we read. Oh, the last thing. So be transparent about the why behind everything you require students to do. So that's why this next slide, hence this next slide, reasons you can give students for why we write. Okay. Here is my reason. I have multiple, but this is a big one. This is the biggest one. Writing is required to write emails, post on social media, create scripts for videos, podcasts, create websites, write cover letters, fill out applications, advertise, write articles, books, TV shows, movies. And guess what? The only way to get better at it is by doing it a lot. So all of these require writing. And I feel like a lot of students are like, Miss Werner, why do we write so much? I'm not going to be a writer when I grow up. And I'm like, are you going to write emails? Are you going to write on social media? Then yes, you need to perfect your writing skills. I do that. Okay. I also tell students that writing builds perseverance and stamina, and perseverance and stamina are needed for so many things in life, right? Like, we have to persevere in our 9-to-5 jobs. We have to we have to go to work every day. We have to, if you're going to run like a half marathon, if you are like learning how to play the saxophone, it takes perseverance and stamina to get good at those things. So writing builds that muscle. Okay. Writing helps you understand your own thoughts and get through hard times. So like, I talk to my students about how I've always wanted to be someone who journals and like writes about my thoughts and stuff, but I always have a hard time. I always love buying pretty journals and then I never write in them. And so like, I talk to my students about how I've been trying my best to like write in my journal. And actually I've been doing it a lot more this summer, and it is beautiful because I think the thing that I needed to get past was like the messiness of it. It's okay. Like no one else is going to see it. Like I can scribble, I can do whatever I want. It's my journal, and that's beautiful. And so just talking about how writing can help you. Writing doesn't judge you. Your journal doesn't judge you. Your journal just is there for you. And that's amazing. So talking to your students about it. Writing can make you money. Kids who are motivated by money will very much perk up when you talk about this. So if you do it for long enough, you can make money. I mean, I'm making money online with my membership program and writing curriculum for teachers. And so you can make money from writing, which is really, really cool. You can make money from writing easier than you've ever been able to in the past because of the internet. Writing can help you change someone's mind. Okay. So like if you want a puppy and you've wanted a puppy for a long, long time, you can write a letter to your parents convincing them why you should have a puppy. So changing people's minds. Writing can build relationships. So my husband and I are about to celebrate our 10-year anniversary in July 18th. And I was thinking about, we're going to Spain in November. Like that's our gift to each other. But like, I was like, what can I do for him? Because he's not like a material person. And when I give him gifts, he's very appreciative, but I know it's not like special. And I was thinking, you know what? I am going to reread our vows to each other because we wrote our own vows to each other. And I'm going to reread them, and I'm going to write a letter to him about how he has gone above and beyond when it comes to following his vows to me. Like it almost makes me want to cry thinking about it. But like I tell my students these things, and writing can build relationships with other people. I'm writing you all emails, right? You're writing emails back to me. We are building relationships across miles and miles and miles and miles. Dima lives so far away from me. And we are friends. It's amazing. Okay, writing stimulates imagination and creativity. I have so many students who participate in NaNoWriMo in November, trying to write a book in a month. I think it's like 50,000 words or something that their goal is, and they love it. They love writing, and also a lot of kids quit. But like they realize, wow, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. But I've had students write entire books, like fictional books in my class, which is so amazing. Writing can make people cry, laugh, be inspired to take action. So again, you're all going to get this slideshow. And so, you should totally make this a poster and put it in your classroom. Okay, why read? So, reasons we can give students for why we read. Reading is required to understand and analyze books, emails, posts on social media, websites, advertisements, articles. And guess what? The only way to get better at it is by doing it a lot. Notice all of these things match up with the first reason for why we write. So, we need to be able to read and analyze and understand all of these things that other people are writing. Reading can transport you to places you've never been before. Places and times. I love historical fiction, and just learning about different time periods and experiences. I just recently read Fish in a Tree, and it's such a beautiful book about a girl who can't read, and I think she's in 5th grade and no one knows that she can't read. And just being in her mind and experiencing what she goes through, it made me have so much more empathy for my students who struggle with reading. It transported me into a person's experience that, and the struggles and the hardship this girl goes through every day at school because she can't read and no one knows her secret. It's so sad. Okay. Oh, Dima. My daughter and I always share notes and messages. Oh, she's 22. I still have a bunch of messages my daughter or my mom left me in my dorm room when I started college, and she hid all these different little notes, and I found them all throughout the year, in my dorm room. Debbie says, I put together a puzzle right now. It is bestsellers. When I frame it and put on a wall, I always leave a piece out and put it on the side. They start seeing book titles on the framed picture. That is so cool, Debbie. I would love to see a picture of that. One picture of all Nancy Drew. Some students like mystery and are now reading these books. I want to see more of that, Debbie. That sounds really, really cool. Okay, reading makes you, I forgot this one. Reading introduces you to new people and perspectives you never would have been exposed to otherwise. Reading makes you smarter. Many scientific studies have proven this fact. Okay, reading increases vocabulary. I also love to read articles with my students about how reading makes you smarter. There's so many great articles. Just Google, does reading make you smarter? And there's so many articles we should be reading with our students about this. Reading increases your vocabulary. It helps you articulate yourself better. Reading makes you a kinder, more empathetic person, which is what I was talking about earlier. Reading is just a healthy way to relieve stress. At 4:00, I just want to grab some Cheetos or some peanut butter cups and just eat all of them. And I know it's because I'm tired and I've been working all day long. And then I have a 4-year-old and she, needs my attention. And so one of the things I do is I just pick up a book and I read, because it's just I need something to help me feel better, right? That's not peanut butter cups. Okay, reading builds stamina and perseverance just like writing does. Reading builds connections and relationships between people who read the same book, right? If you all have read Fish in a Tree, you're probably connecting with me right now. Maybe I made you have get a little teary-eyed about this. You know what book I just read recently that I loved? City of Ember. Have you all read that book? It's so good. I had so many kids telling me I had to read City of Ember for years and years and years, and I finally had time to read it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, now I need People of Sparks, because that book is so good. I think I'm on my son's channel. Oh my goodness, mobile game. Okay, replay viewers, there's a person in the comments and their name is Mobile Gaming. And then their comment is, I think I'm on my son's channel. Okay, tell us what your name is, Mobile Gaming. I'm so excited. Oh my goodness. Oh, Art of Racing in the Rain. Is that a book I should read, Debbie? I've never heard of it. Okay, but reading helps build connections. Okay, so now let's talk about getting students to read and write more. So teach about stamina. I think, we need to talk about this a lot. with our students. And I have a lesson in the Launching Reading and Writing Workshop unit. If you become a member, I have a lot of lessons about teaching stamina. And so basically you talk about how, and I always tell this story. So here's an example. I tell this story about when I was 12 and I was really causing my parents a lot of headaches. I was just a brat. My students love when I talk about how bratty I was when I was 12. And I just wanted to hang out with my friends and go to the roller barn. And my parents didn't let me because they wanted us to have family time on Fridays. And I was like, no, I want to go to the roller barn. And I was just causing all sorts of problems for my parents. And my mom was like, you know what? You need a hobby. You need a new hobby. You're going to start coming running with me, and it can be bonding time between us. And so I went running with my mom for the first time. And I was so out of breath after only 1 minute. And I was just like, how is my mom still running right now? Like, how is she able to run for like 30 minutes straight? And so I had to keep I'd run for a minute and then stop and like breathe so heavily. And like, I thought I was going to die. I had no running stamina. Okay. And so I teach my students this. I say, you don't have stamina right now, writing stamina and reading stamina. If you're someone who doesn't read and write very often, you probably feel that way. After 1 minute, you're like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. Okay. And so teaching your students about how it takes time, it takes like effort. And as time goes on, it gets easier. And so having stamina goals, having students set goals, like my goal today is to try and write for 5 minutes without getting distracted by my peers, by being silent, and like saying, okay, our class, I wonder how long our class can write straight without being distracted, and kind of like treating it as an experiment. Teach about the obstacles readers and writers face. Talk about how I don't always want to read. Sometimes I'm actually reading a book called, what is it called? A Man Called Ove, or Man Ove. Have you all read this book? And I don't know, it's good. And I've had multiple people recommend it to me, but I'm really having a hard time getting into it. And so I read a couple pages and I'm like, but I always try again the next day, So the obstacles, I don't always want to read. I don't always want to write. It's hard sometimes to get into books. And I teach students about abandoning books and that it's okay. You need to find a good book you like. Okay. Have students make plans for each work time session. Have them actually write down what they're going to accomplish in your class during work time after your mini lesson. So having them make plans and having them tell their partner, have an accountability partner. Hey, I want to get 2 pages written today. Partner, hold me accountable to this. Oh, cool. Raydeen, am I saying your name right? Show me how to log out and back. Raydeen, you were the gamer. That's so awesome that your school is adopting the workshop approach, because I really do believe it's the best way to teach reading and writing. Have charts up for what students can do when they are done or stuck. So I put done in quotations because I don't believe that writing and reading is ever done. And I tell my students this, usually when you think you're done, you just need a break. And so I talk to them about that. Be encouraging, enthusiastic, and proud of any and all wins and accomplishments. And I talked a little bit about that earlier. Be honest about hardships you have had developing as a reader or writer. Have class meetings where students share their struggles and goals and accomplishments. Okay, so that is how to get students to read and write more. And feel free to ask questions at all. Oh, cool. I love your name. It's beautiful. More resources. So I love this YouTube video from Rita Peterson. I talked about it last session. Every kid needs a champion. Listen more than you talk. This is actually a Facebook Live that I did in my Facebook group. If you want to join, you can click that. I'll send you the slides after this session. 8 ways teachers kill a love of writing. This is actually one of my oldest blog posts. The Truth About Writing, Part 1. This is a 3-part series. This is from my blog. 5 questions to ask yourself about your unmotivated student. I love this blog post by Jennifer Gonzalez from The Cult of Pedagogy. And these are all clickable. So once I send you the slides after the session, you'll be able to go visit them. Laughter and learning, humor boosts retention. So this is like actually proven science about it. The but why chart. This is really cool. I'm going to click on it in a second and show it to you. 5 simple games to play whenever. This is my 5 favorite games to play with students. And then 5 activities to do after a long break. Okay, let's look at the but why chart real quick. So I think this is really powerful. Have you all ever read The 4 Tendencies by Ruben Gretchen? So that is such a great book. I love it. And I plan to use it at the beginning of the year and talk about the 4 tendencies when it comes to like achieving goals and doing work. So there's the rebel, like they are so rebellious. They don't want to do anything. There's the, oh man, what are the 4 tendencies? Do you all know the 4 tendencies? There's the questioner who's always like, why do I have to do this? What do you know? And they like want to do a lot of research to find out like things. Has anyone read this book? The 4 Tendencies. The Upholder. Katie's read it. The Upholder wants to like do the right thing, right? Oh my gosh, Katie, you're awesome. Which one are you, Katie? The Upholder wants to do the right thing. And just, sometimes I wonder about and the Upholder follows rules. They're a rule follower. And actually, when I was reading this book, I thought I was the Upholder, and I'm not. So there's actually a quiz you can go take, and your kids could take it too to find out what they are, because it's really interesting to see like, okay, how do I work when it comes to trying to accomplish things and set goals and develop better habits? And then there's the Obliger, and they just want to please everyone, and they don't really like, and she talks about how there's like internal things that you want to accomplish, and then there's like external, like other people wanting you to accomplish things. And like the rebel, they can't meet internal expectations or external expectations. My mom is a rebel. She like, if someone else tells her to do something, she's like, no, I'm not doing that. And like when she tells herself to do things, she's like, nope, I'm not doing that. Like do the opposite. And so I was thinking of having them take the quiz too. So one thing, like my husband, he's an obliger. And actually so the obliger is like, they're really good at being accountable to external expectations, but not internal. So like if he wanted to stop, I'm telling you right now, my husband chews nicotine gum. He's been chewing nicotine gum for years. When I first met him, he smoked cigarettes, and then eventually he went to nicotine gum. But if he wanted to stop chewing nicotine gum, it would be really, really hard for him, because he has a really hard time meeting internal expectations or goals. But the obliger is very good at meeting external expectations. So when someone asks him to do something, he will do it. And so it was really good for me to learn this, because, a lot of times I'd be like, why can't he just do things without me asking? But it's because he's an obliger. He'll do it if I ask him. And then that's my family. We don't tell each other what to do, because we do the opposite. Your whole family, Karen. Oh my goodness. So I am a questioner. Okay. That's when I took the quiz. I'm a questioner. I question everything. And so that's why I made this agenda and why I'm showing you this, because I'm speaking to the questioners in my classroom. So what are we doing today? We're taking a quick check assessment, not graded. And so I want to tell them why. I want to find out if you were able to develop a solid, effective claim statement about your book. If not, no worries. This will help me better support you in developing claim statements. Big happy face, right? So, I really love doing this, and I love being able to tell my students why we're doing what we're doing. So that's why I'm showing this to you. Okay. What is the next slide here? Okay. I wanted to answer some of the questions in the Google form you all filled out. So here are some of the questions. Instead of just kind of scrolling through the questions to find ones about motivation, I just found some and put them here. And if you all have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. And if you're a replay viewer and you have questions, feel free to email me. I love getting your emails. I think they're amazing. And actually, I want to share an email I got from someone the other day after she became a member of of my website, workshop teacher member. And so I'm going to share it in a minute, but first let me answer some of your questions. I'd like to use Workshop to reach kids on their level. My 9th graders range from apathetic to gifted. Okay, me too. Me too. Whoever wrote this, I have the same range of 8th graders. And so my answer to this is remember the truth. The truth is that different things are going to motivate different kids. And so that's why the conferences and the conversations during work time are so important, because you're asking them questions like, what do you do outside of this class? And like, what are you into? And like really listening and writing down like what they say and writing down their honest answers. Like, kids are very honest. Like, I don't like this kind of book, but I do kind of like this kind of book. And so just finding out like, like you're doing some like, I always put remind me tomorrow. You're doing some kind of like research about each student, and teachers are so good at figuring out like, okay, this student is like super unmotivated. And so they're going to be your best friend. Whatever kid is giving you the most problems and like having the hardest time, that kid needs to be your best friend. Like, you got to ask them how they are every day. You have to have conversations with them every day. They're really going to be those kids that you take under your wing. And then the gifted kids, those kids, you want to have conversations with them too, because just because they're gifted doesn't mean they don't have like weaknesses, right? Like, usually gifted kids, their weakness is like socializing. Like my husband, he was, he's a chemist. He has his PhD and he's very smart, but like when it comes to like socializing and interacting with people, he struggles. And so, just like book club discussion, like having a partner and, speaking in class, like those are all skills you can be working on with those gifted kids. But my answer to this is like, just remember, yes, you have a wide range of students. That's why you need to be having conversations with them, with conferences. Okay, what are some methods used to motivate reluctant writers? So kids who do not want to write. So teach about stamina. And then I want to tell you about a new book that I just recently read that I'm going to start putting into action next year. It's called Hacking the Writing Workshop by Angela Stockman. So this book is wonderful. It is so awesome. It has so much information, and there's links to like Google Drive stuff that you can use. And it's all about the makers movement and about how some students in our classes are more makers. They're makers. They want to make things. They want to work with their hands. So it's all about incorporating students who are more hands-on into like, how can we help students write about what they're making? Does that make sense? And I'm still kind of learning about this, but it's really, really cool. And I have a younger sister, and she is a maker. She's an artist. She's hands-on. She went through school in special ed. She was qualified like she has a learning disability, and reading and writing has always been very challenging for her, and very much like just a painful part of her life. And she has lots of painful memories of teachers making her read out loud and just being so incredibly embarrassed. And so, the more that we can let students draw and use their hands to make things, origami, Play-Doh, paper clips, like just, letting them make and then kind of turn it into writing, or even talk on their phone, like audio, like record themselves talking about the topic, and then, having someone else, their partner, transcribe it, things like that. Okay. What to do with students who are apathetic and refuse to do any work, especially with reading and writing? Okay. I love this question. Did you say hacking the writing workshop? Yep, Karen, I did. After looking at writers maker stations on another blog. Yeah. Books you read. Do I have an updated list of the books you've read this summer? Yeah, you know what? I'm thinking about making a blog post about my favorite kids books I've read recently and my favorite professional development book. I read so much. Like, seriously, if I'm not doing this, I'm reading. Yeah, I should do a blog post and maybe a podcast episode about some PD book recommendations and kids book recommendations. Okay, kids who refuse to work, especially with reading and writing. So just like the super defiant kid. Like I said, this kid, there's something going on, right? Like there's something going on with this kid, and it's so important that we are patient with them, and that we don't have the same expectations for them as everyone else. Like you got to figure out what's going to work for them. And having conversations with them, maybe outside of your classroom, like, hey, like, what's going on? Like, what do you think you could do right now when everyone else is writing? What do you think would, like, it's so hard. I know this is a really hard situation, especially a kid who refuses to work. Like, maybe like probing a little bit, like, why don't you want to write about this? And like kind of going from there, or what's up with not reading? Like, what do you, have you ever read a book? Ask them these like honest, truthful, like questions, and be like as non-judgmental as possible, because I feel like this kid has probably been judged and embarrassed for years and years and years. Okay. Yeah. Angela Stockman. She's awesome. Okay. What are the other students doing while you are working with groups of students? Sorry, I forgot the question mark at the end. Okay, what are other students doing while you are working with groups of students? So one thing to know is I don't work with groups of students. I actually just have conversations, one-on-one conversations with students. I still haven't figured out that, like, I'm going to work with a group of students over here on this, because I don't know. I still have growing to do too as a teacher. I feel like I still haven't figured that out yet. But what I do when I do have one-on-one conversations with students, I like other students are around that student. And I always tell my whole class, like, you can spy on our conversations. Like, if we're talking about something that applies to what you're doing, you should be listening in too. And sometimes I'll be like, oh, you're working on that. This person, hey, can you come over here? Because we're going to talk about this real quick. And like, they'll just listen to me, like, teach a skill real quick. And they'll say, okay, go back to your places. That's kind of how I do the group work thing. But like, managing all of your students while you're having conversations, you have your behavior management needs to be on point. Like, seriously, you cannot have conversations with students if your students aren't like, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly what to do when I need help. I know exactly what to do when I'm done. And I know exactly what the noise levels are, right? So, and I have in my course, which you will get for free if you join my membership, I have a whole module about behavior, because that's how important behavior is before you can do the conferencing. Okay, how do I make sure all students are working, especially while I'm conferencing? This is similar to the first one. So actually, you know what I think I'm going to do? I'm going to show you all my course, which is $62. And I'm giving it away for free to members. So I just workshop teacher school reading and writing workshop in the secondary classroom. So let me just show you this real quick. So behavior. If you join my membership, you will get access to editable expectations and consequence systems. You'll be able to put expectations and consequences systems in place while also building a caring, accepting community of secondary students, increase student productivity, engagement, and motivation, access a unit plan to teach writing behavior, access a unit plan to teach peer conferencing. So this is my course that it's not quite done yet. Everyone's going to start it July 15th. July 14th is the last day that you can sign up for my membership and get this course for free. But this is everything that's in the course. So like I said, enrollment closes July 14th and class starts Monday, July 15th. So if you haven't become a member yet, I don't know why you haven't, because there's so many perks that I'm giving people who become members. And there is, if you become a member in the next, here, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Can you all see me? Ooh, okay. I'm going to take a deep breath here. If you become a member in the next 5 hours, then I would love to talk to you on Google Hangouts, just me and you. We can talk about your situation. We can talk about planning for next year. And if you're here live and you want to have a one-on-one conversation, email me at amandarightnow@gmail.com. And I would love to chat with you about your situation and just help you make this the best year of your career. It's going to be the best year of my career. It's going to be the best year of your career. Like I said, I still have things I'm working on. So the things I'm working on are being more of a listener, being more calm, being less like crazy. Sometimes I just feel like I don't breathe enough. And then like the group, like really planning strategic group conferences. Yeah, I can always get better at conferencing. I feel like that's the hardest part of being a writing teacher. Okay, next, we've been going for about an hour now. Does anyone have any, Radine is in my course. It's great. Oh, speaking of that, okay, so I forgot, I was going to share you, Melissa England. She also is a member, and oh my goodness, she wrote me an email that almost made me cry. It kind of made me cry. So she's in my course, and she wrote, "Wow, I just finished module 1 and love, in all capitals, how you have organized this course. My plan for the rest of this week is to complete the 5 simple to-dos. What a great way to ground my thinking related to workshop. I also want to let you know how much this puts my mind at ease related to my planning for next year. As a humanities teacher, I often struggle to bring the ELA and social studies content and skills together. After completing module 1, I feel much better about this." Okay, that makes everything that I'm doing worth it. Like seriously, Melissa, if you're watching, I love you. Thank you for writing that. So if you're interested in becoming a member, a workshop teacher member, click the button, I think it's above me, to just read what happens. And you know what else is really cool? I actually just recently made this decision because I've been getting a lot of emails about like, well, when are we going to get these lessons, Amanda? Because I really need them now so I can plan ahead of time. So what I'm going to do, and Dima, you did Teachbox with me a long time ago, a couple of years ago. So I used to sell a curriculum called Teachbox. So we would give everyone the curriculum the first of every month. So what I'm doing is I'm giving you the curriculum a month in advance. So you're going to get the Launching Reading and Writing Workshop unit now, if you become a member right now, and my course. And then you'll get the fiction unit, reading and writing fiction unit. You'll get it August 1st. And we're not going to teach it until September. And then the next unit, you'll get September 1st. So the unit that you'll be teaching in October, you're going to get it September 1st. So you're going to get it a whole month in advance so you can have time to plan your following month. So you'll always be a month ahead. And you can always adapt what I'm doing. I have a bunch of editable things that you can use to adapt it to like your situation, which is really, really awesome. Okay, let's see. Anyone? Yay! Anyone have any questions about anything I've said about motivating, engaging? I hope you found this helpful. I'm going to go on a bike ride. I hope you all are going to do something super fun. Go outside, relax, watch a Netflix show. Yes, thank you for coming, Debbie. I really appreciate it. And next week, oh, we're talking about assessment, making assessment easier. And I seriously feel like I figured this out. I figured out assessment so we don't have to grade so much. So I hope you can join me next Friday. It's the day after the 4th of July. We'll be okay. We can do it, right? July 5th. Is that next Friday? Yeah. Katie, thank you. The August curriculum is so awesome. Thank you, Katie. I'm so excited about the fiction unit that you're going to get next, August 1st. So bye, Jennifer. Bye, Katie. Bye, Dina, Ray Dean, and Debbie. Thank you for joining me live. And bye, replay viewers. Thank you for watching. Email me if you have any questions. Talk to you next Friday. Bye, everyone.